Hello.
As you can see, Shea is in the great outdoors. She is at Boy Scout camp. This is why you see her out there in the wilderness.
Yes, and so hopefully my connection will stay good. I get one of my jobs is a program ranger for scouts, and we had an issue out at camp, so I had to come out to camp, and now I'm using my phone to do our class today, or to do our Facebook Live today. So we'll make it work. We're parents. We're flexible, right?
Exactly. This is the life of an everyday parent. You know, we got to do what we got to do. And so today I'm actually excited because we're going to be talking about, online schools, which is a big hot topic right now with everyone, especially parents, trying to find that information. In schools reopening starting late. So a lot of parents are looking at the possibility of a new school, an online school. So how do we go about doing that? And we're going to walk through that. So let me share my screen. And by the way, just to let everybody know, when last week, when we were talking about our documents, these documents can be found on My Child, My Voice website page. So anything that we're bringing to you, you can find on there to make it helpful, especially like the buzzwords, and then especially the documents that we're going to be talking about here today on how to find these virtual schools here in Texas. So let me go ahead and start this. Ooh. We've got the slides up. Okay, so I'm going to let Shea take it from here and talk about what is a full-time online school.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about the differences on Monday, but for those of you who weren't there, full-time public online school is different than distance learning. What you guys possibly did with your traditional school this last spring, and what a lot of them will be doing before either going back into the classroom or as an option. That is called distance learning. What we're talking about today is full-time online public school. So these schools are either partnerships with charters or ISDs, where the packaging of the school is on the internet. So you've got certified teachers for your state. The curriculum is okayed by the state, right? It's just, I'm going to try and get where it's not windy. Hold on, I'm going to walk as I'm talking. By the state, they give you everything you need, and it is the whole time. So it is still public school. It is paid for by your taxes. So it is not something that you pay for. There are some, private online providers, or you can choose to do for instance, K-12, and you can pay to have a teacher and the curriculum and things like that. As kind of a private school, or as a homeschooler, you can pay for an online, homeschool. What we're talking about today is public online school that is the same thing. The only difference is, instead of sitting in a classroom, you were sitting at your kitchen table or a table in your living room or sitting on your bed, and the teacher is coming to you through the computer. But it's the same thing. They've got state testing requirements, and the teachers have certain requirements they have to get through, all those kinds of things. So that is what full-time online school looks like. Do you have any questions about that, Wendy?
On there, is it well, because you said public, correct?
Yes. So we're talking public online today. Yes.
And it is free. So that means if it's public, that means it's free.
Absolutely. It is paid for by your taxes, just like the school down the street. And just like the school down the street, those teachers are state teachers for your state. So Wendy and I are in Texas. We follow the TEKS that are put out by TEA. Those are the accountability standards. Those are the things that the teachers have to teach per grade. And those teachers have to be Texas certified teachers using Texas certified curriculum. And there's lots of reasons why even before COVID, people were looking for a school like that. We have kids, for the most part, when we, kind of ask people why they're coming into full-time online, the majority of people it's for safety. Maybe, they did not feel safe. They were bullied in the school. Maybe there was some, shootings. That's been a big thing in their area, or, gang violence, or there's all sorts of things that happen
I have,
in schools.
parents that I've met where their child has challenges and they feel like an online school, they tried this different type of school for their child because of the challenges, and it worked for them. It's going to work for everybody, but it worked for their child. And a lot of times that's another reason why they pick like an online school.
Right. And it is honestly not for every kid and not for every family, right? We've got people who, grandma and grandpa or auntie or a friend is the one that's home and helping the kids, stay on track and learn along with the teachers, or their older students who are kind of on their own. We've got kids, pregnant kiddos who then didn't want to be, at the public high school. And so they went online. We have kids that are 19 and doing some of their studies for their freshman year. Right. We have kids that have cancer or autoimmune deficiency or all sorts of health issues where it's not safe for them to be in a classroom with 30 kids. Mm-hmm. And so now with COVID, we've got, kind of an influx of people feeling like this might work better for their child. Because keep in mind, the schools the providers, for the most part, the biggest providers who have been around for a long time have been around for more than 2 decades. So this online school is not new. It didn't start in the spring of 2020. This started 20 years ago. And I started over a decade ago in Texas. We were one of the first 300 students in the state utilizing that type of education. And now there's over 18,000 just in the state of Texas. But Texas has actually the most barriers to education. So there's more schools and more options in other states around the country than there is in Texas.
Right. So other states. So if you're watching this and you're from another state, you may have that option and have, easier access to the online, these online schools. And then, but we're specifically talking about Texas itself, for our Texas family. But if you are from another state, I hope this is going to be helpful. And that's what we're going to talk about next is what are the Texas requirements for full-time online education?
Yeah, and I think definitely if you're not in Texas, keep listening because, maybe about 10% of what we're talking about is Texas specific. But for the most part, this is nationwide with kids and students from all over the country that utilize these kinds of schools. So in Texas, there's a couple of requirements to get in to a full-time online school. In Texas, full-time online is only in about 6 schools. That's it. Now, in other states like Colorado, there's over 60 schools. Oh. Big difference. And they have a lot less kids than we have, right? A lot less population.
Not fair. I get it.
It is. And in our state, you cannot start until 3rd grade for online. So it's 3rd through 12th for the state of Texas.
So before, hold the horses. Before you even go on and say, why 3rd grade? Because if I had, my granddaughter is 3 years old and is in pre-K. Why couldn't I put her in these online, schools at pre-K 3?
So in every other state, there's about 36 or so states, and it kind of fluctuates between year to year, which states offer full-time online. Every other state starts in kindergarten, goes through 12th grade, and you get a high school diploma. In Texas, when they started this, they started it with 3rd grade. Their reasoning when they started this a little bit over a decade ago was thinking, well, this is a new thing to us. Let's see if it works. And we don't start state testing in Texas until 3rd grade. So their theory was, okay, well, let's see if these schools work. Right. Which is interesting to me because if I sent my kid to the school, the traditional school down the street for kindergarten, first or second, they're not being state tested. So how did they know the traditional school down the street is working, right?
That's a point.
It is, you know, and kids with autoimmune deficiency, oh, you don't get that till third grade? That's not a thing. You know, my child who cannot use a facility where there's lighting. So any school that has fluorescent lighting, this is my 10-year-old, he gets massive migraines and then at times micro seizures. Sometimes they turn into micro seizures. And in talking with the pediatrician, he said this is not a safe thing for him to be doing, right, you know, all day long in a room with fluorescent lighting. You need to find a different way to educate him. Well, every single school, charter, traditional, private, has fluorescent lighting in the classroom. Even if I could talk to the teacher about a mitigation for that room, going down the hallway, PE, cafeteria, all those kinds of things. Well, that started for him in kindergarten. It didn't wait till third grade. So that's one of the crazy things in Texas. And I've been talking with lots of parents, even just last night, one who wanted to put her kid in who's going into first grade, and that's not an option in our state until third grade. The other wonky thing in Texas, y'all, is you have to have gone to a Texas public brick and mortar school, so the school down the street, last school year, a neighborhood school. So in the school year of 2019-2020, you have to have gone to school in a Texas school. If you just moved here this summer because mom or dad had a job change, you're out of luck because you are not in a Texas school. If you homeschooled, if you private schooled, you cannot utilize this school year. And so you'll have to wait, enroll them in a public, you know, neighborhood school this year so that then next year you can do that. Again, Texas is the only wonky state that does that. Every other state got rid of all of these barriers over a decade ago. So we're a little slow on this.
I have a little question there. So if I'm a parent, let's just say from Louisiana, my kid did go to a traditional brick and mortar public school, and I'm coming into Texas. Now you're saying I can, a parent, enroll into an online, even though I'm from another state, I can still put my child in the online school.
Not if you're in Louisiana public school. You have to have gone to a Texas public school.
That's a good clarifying question.
Yeah.
So, is there any way that a parent can somehow do something so that they can get, especially right now with this pandemic, cooties,
right?
You know, like, is there a way for parents to, or especially parents who have just recently moved here or have homeschooled and decided they wanted to put their child in online? I mean, what can we do?
So, well, you can come to the Capitol with me this legislative session and try and fight this. I've been trying for almost a decade to fight.
So I think, Shea, we're kind of losing you a little bit. I know this is where you're on the great outdoors.
All right, I'm going to step outside.
I'm going to repeat.
Is it better? I don't know if it's better. Now it's windy.
Getting better. What Shea was meaning is, like, including myself, we go to the state capitol, and we actually go in and ask parents to come with us to help make these changes here in Texas. There's something that barrier could be lifted if we can get, you know, a law put in, and we can do this in Texas when the legislation session is in. This is what she's referring to as in what can we do as parents.
Right. Can you hear me, Wendy?
Now we can hear you.
All right. Well, we'll see. Now I'm standing in the wind, but one of the tricks that I've told a few parents. Now, this won't help you this next school year. If you have a kid with autoimmune deficiency or on the spectrum, or you know that being in the classroom or the traditional school is not going to work for your kid, but next year you want, say they're going into second grade this year, and you want in third grade to go next year to one of these public online schools in Texas. Well, The rule says you have to have been enrolled the prior school year in a Texas brick and mortar school. It does not give a length of time. It does not say a semester, a year, or even a week. So I have parents who have gone and knew that it would not work for their kid. They were on the spectrum and didn't work for their kid. So they went and enrolled them for one day. And then at the end of the day, unenrolled them. It's a pain, it's a hoop that parents are figuring out they can, jump through. It's a pain for, the secretary in the office of the school to have to do that extra paperwork, but that is the only way to, at this point, to get around that law in Texas.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
They put on parents like us.
But so every state is different, right? Yeah. That's our crazy state. And again, not every state has, any choices. You go to the school that they tell you you're going to. Some states have charters. Some states don't have charters. Some states have online. Some states don't have online. And one of the really great partners that is a partner of everybody of choice is National School Choice Week. That's the next slide, Wendy.
About to go there so I can change that so everybody can see it, see what we're talking about.
They have done their homework, and they are a great place to go to help find out about the different types of schools that are out there. Right. Get information on all sorts of different types of learning and different schools. And they'll have videos of people's, this is why I worked for my student. But the really cool one that I like is the school choice by state. And you can click on your personal state and then find out the options within your state. So if you're not in Texas, that's where you want to go.
We can show that towards the end if we have time of our show. We can show you the website, which is this is a great tool to have as in National School Choice Week. What they do for all states, not just the state of Texas, where you choose your state and it'll tell you your requirements. It'll tell you the types of schools that are available in your state. This is a great tool to actually make sure you write down and have.
Good. So, but in Texas, since we're talking about full-time online, there are 6 schools. So I wanted to kind of just highlight and say what those ones are, because I get asked all the time, what schools are those?
So I'm going to click on the next one, and
there we go. And this is the information I got, and I'm familiar with what the schools are, but I wanted to make sure I had the most updated information. Right. Because I deal with this every day, but Texas Virtual School Network, that is the part of TEA, or Texas Education Association, that deals with anything online, okay? Mm-hmm. So that is the website, and we'll share that at the end. TXVSN is the website, Texas Virtual School Network.
School Network.
Right. Yep. And they're going to highlight each of the schools. And so school stuff is iUniversity Prep. Now, iUniversity Prep is a much smaller school compared to some of the others. And that's out of Grapevine and Colleyville ISD. That's the ISD that partners with them or has that golden ticket, one of the 6, to be able to have.
I think Shea froze on us. Hold on, Shea.
Full-time online. They're only year 5th through 12th. No.
I think we lost you for a little bit. Shea's actually going over iUniversity Prep, which on the screen it shows you what she was referring to is Grapevine and Colleyville ISD. These are in public independent school districts that they have partnered with iUniversity Prep, and she has done some homework to up to date, but they do grades 5 through 12, and that's what we were talking about before. A lot of these online schools only serve certain grades, so make sure you check that. But this is a great website to go to. So it actually gives you a breakdown of if it's partnered with an ISD, it gives you their organization or their and then it tells you
for their website.
Yeah, their website. So you were
Yep.
about to tell us a
Yep.
little bit
And then the
about
next one that
iUniversity.
Yeah, just that they're a smaller school. So if you're looking for something a little bit smaller, that is the one. But of course, it doesn't start until 5th grade. Now, Texas Virtual at Hallsville, that is has been around a long time. That is one of the first. That is who my older ones graduated from. I'm not saying that's the best one. That's just the one that my kids graduated from.
Okay, great. I heard that part because you
But
froze
again,
them.
it's only 3rd through 12th. That is one of the largest in our state. Excuse
Wow.
me. And they, they have. Most
She's
of these
freezing
schools have
back and
info
forth.
sessions.
But she's talking about Texas Virtual Academy, which and to be honest, as a mom with kids in traditional and charter school, this is all actually new for me as well. So we're learning together. And she was talking about Texas Virtual Academy, which is in Hollisville ISD, but only serves grades 3 through 12, which I think is very awesome that they serve more grade levels, for their students. And they have what they call info sessions, which I think is great.
Yes.
Can you hear us, Shea?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, we'll see. All right, so that is it about Texas Virtual Academy at Hallsville. It's worth checking out. K-12 is their provider. They've been around for 2 decades and really know their stuff. And we're hoping more and more ISDs during this pandemic will utilize these types of schools like Connections and K-12 to help train their teachers, to maybe use some of their portals and their information. They've been partnered with Texas for years and know how to do the TEKS and how to train the teachers and all that good stuff. So we're hoping a little bit of that is happening with even more ISDs for distance learning.
So, Shea, I have a quick question. As a mom that lives in Houston,
Yep.
could I apply for that school, or only people that live in Hollisville ISD?
That is a good question. So all of these schools are statewide schools, even though it's in Hallsville. That does actually, there's not a whole lot of kids that are living in Hallsville attending. These are kids and teachers from all over the states.
Right.
So these are statewide schools. Absolutely. Yep. There's 2 more on the next slide. All right. So Texas Connections Academy at Houston, they're about 6,000 strong. So they are partnered with Houston ISD. So that's already a big school. Mm-hmm. And they, from the beginning knew how important it was to let's do this new thing called virtual, quite a while ago. And they don't start, notice, until that's the only one I could see right away when they started. They don't start until after Labor Day. Some of the other ones I did start in August, but.
Yeah, just to kind of remind everybody here, and I think a lot of Houstonians know this, is Judge Hidalgo, our Harris County judge, actually announced that schools will reopen, is going to delay the reopening. So for Harris County. And so that means, Houston Independent School District, most of their schools, or all of their schools are in there. So that's why you see the start of September 8th because of that order. But yes, a lot of schools are posting now and informing their families that they are starting at a specific date. Some are starting virtual actually in August. And they will actually HISD has put like they're going to end May 28th. So what I would advise to parents, especially in HISD, is just keep watching, keep following and watching and contacting your school to make sure that you're up to date on what they're doing and especially how they're planning to serve your child or your students.
Right. And these students, if you pick these full-time onlines, they are online the whole time. There is no in-person. Some of them have a little bit of that component, but most of them it is 100% online except for the state testing. When and if there's state testing, there wasn't, at least in Texas this last spring. So even our online schools did not get tested because it was across the board. The next one is TOPS, or Texas Online Preparatory School. I believe they're about 3,000 strong. And they awesome school, another K-12 school. They are a college preparatory school. And so they have a lot of AP, a lot of honors, a lot of dual credit kind of schools. So if your student is a more advanced student, for sure, this is the one that I kind of send people to. All of them have advanced classes. Tops, I've seen what they're doing. And maybe that's just because they're telling me, what they're doing. Everybody else is amazing as well. Tops is more, a little bit faster every day than like Texas Virtual Academy at Hallsville. Tops is demands a little bit more of you every day. And so that, that's just like every other school. Every school's a little bit different.
And I like what they put on here is info sessions. So those of you know, like, of course, we can't visit the school in person, but a lot of them are doing info sessions, through webinars where parents check out their website, go on there and then check out their info sessions. This is a great time to ask the questions you want to ask these particular schools. So they're trying to make it more accessible for, parents like us who are searching so that you can know about their school. Because I know there's a lot of schools with reopening or just started, they're doing info sessions. They give you great, information on what's going to happen, how they're going to do it, and why are they different from other schools.
Right. Yep. And then there's 2 more because there's only 6 in our state. E-School Prep, they're also only 5th through 12th. Texarkana ISD, they're also a smaller school.
Mm-hmm.
They're not super big. So if you're looking for something smaller, that may be the one that you want to go to. And again, you don't have to live in Texarkana. You can live across the state and go to that. And they also have, some webinars where you can find out more about their school specifically. iSchool Virtual Academy, they don't partner with an ISD. They partner through a charter, which is Responsive Education Solutions. Responsive Education Solutions has lots of different charter schools, and this is their online charter. So iSchool does a great job. I believe iSchool is one of the schools where either every student or certain students, depending on maybe your grade, not your grade in school, but how you're doing in school, whether or not you need some in-person tutoring or assistance. I believe they offer a little bit more of the in-person than the others, but it's worth going to their website and looking up their school and finding out about their school for sure. Because you need to find the school that's going to work for your student and your family.
And that's why we're sharing all this information so that families can, go research these schools, find out what they feel is the best fit for their child.
Yep.
And I think it's what we're going to talk about next is a very interesting boxes.
Right? Full of stuff. It's like, okay, if this online school, if you were in a classroom, right, your teacher would have the textbooks you need, the literature books you need, the art supplies in the art room, the music stuff in the music room. Well, remember, these are Texas certified public schools, so they have to offer the same thing. So the really fun thing that happens is when you get accepted into the school and you apply just like every other school, you have to, prove where you live, that you live in the state that you're trying to apply for, things like that. And you send those in electronically and you will get boxes of stuff. So that first one with the little wrapping in the green and the orange, that's your PE box. You get a pedometer, a jump rope, a ball, and you'll have PE things to go and do because just like regular traditional school, you have PE to get out and go and do. And you do the presidential challenge, thing I think it's in the spring. Yeah. You get art supplies, so clay, paints, brushes, all that stuff to work on art and art appreciation. You get, then there's, literature books, history books, science books. And when my kids were in high school and taking chemistry, they got to do chemistry and beakers and all that stuff to sit there and do those same types of things, but in my kitchen, that they would be doing. And so some of it was live with their teacher, some of it was assigned, the more dangerous stuff was live so the teacher could keep an eye on them. For the younger grades, it's, physics stuff, it's scales and springs and everything you need
think,
to learn hands-on.
I think this is awesome that the schools actually, it's almost like getting a care package. Here you go, mom and dad. Here are everything you're going to need for the online school.
Yes.
I think the question I have, especially now with all this pandemic hoodies, is what about computer and internet access?
Right. So that is, again, a question you would ask during those webinars for each individual school. At different times in different schools, they've done different things. When I started, every student got a computer. Now that the school in prior years that my kids used to go to, it's for if you qualify for free or reduced lunch, then you get a computer. And then some of the schools give you hotspots or stipends for internet costs. It's across the board, all sorts of different things, just like your traditional schools. Not every school is giving everyone, a laptop, but they're giving certain kids a laptop. So that's that's one of the questions you need to definitely ask during those info sessions, or when you call to find out about the school. Okay, what, other than the curriculum, I understand I get, these curriculum things in a box with the textbooks. Right. What are you giving me media wise? Do I get a laptop for every student? Do I only get one laptop for the whole family and I've got 3 students? Do you offer a hotspot? Do you offer stipends for internet? What are you offering to help me access this type of packaging? Because again, remember, this gift is the same gift. That's one of the things I talk about with the legislators. Inside the packaging, when you go to the traditional school, you get this gift of a tremendous, wonderful state school, right? Your Texas school, your Oklahoma school, whatever state you're in. And it's wrapped in a nice, old style wrapping with tape and a bow, and it's gorgeous. Not every kid has an easy time unwrapping that package.
Right.
Right? For whatever reason. Maybe they have symbolic mittens on, right?
Right.
They can't get that tape off. It's taped too hard for them to get to that gift. So there's this other packaging that's more modern, right?
Right.
Now, how often do you really wrap a present with a bow and tape? Not so much. Most people are using the more modern wrapping of a gift bag, right? It's the same gift, but the only thing in their way is the tissue paper. So they pull out the tissue paper and they can get to it, right? So for the kids that are having a hard time learning in the traditional setting because, for instance, they're being bullied and they are just keeping their head down and thinking about recess or what's that kid going to do to me today or after school on my way home, right? They're not thinking about the education that's happening. But when they go to this other kind of packaging, it's easier for them to access. They don't have to worry about and stress about the bully or whatever it is. They can right away get to that amazing, type of public education and just dive right in and start learning.
So I think the question I have, and I know you kind of touched point in the beginning about, online schools. So that is a good question to ask, is what about free and reduced lunch if I was on that with my child, in the previous school? But
right.
How do these schools, if I feel like, okay, I think this is going to be a good school for my child, but like good example, my nephew's autistic. I want to go ahead and try this. I know distance learning is different, but I want to go ahead and try online. How do these schools support kids with challenges with an IEP and so forth?
Right. So because these are Texas public schools, they follow IEPs the same way. So my third child has dyslexia and dysgraphia. And so in 3rd and 4th grade, he would go to the regular class, but he had accommodations. For instance, he had recordings of the books that he could listen to as he read. And then he had tutoring, both one-on-one and in a group setting. So those were some accommodations that transferred over. And they do all sorts of accommodations depending on their IEPs. If they don't have an IEP, every school has specialized teachers and specialists to help you come up with an IEP for your student and how to access this packaging of online school in the best manner for your students. Yep. And so the really cool thing that I found about online is, so my third one, for instance, he was great with, once he got through third and fourth grade, he really started understanding reading.
Mm-hmm.
Then math, when he hit middle school, he had a hard time. He was like, I'm not getting it, you know? And so he would sit, he'd listen live with the teacher, he'd go through, be put into groups. They can write on the board, they get called on. The teacher, it's so much more advanced than Zoom. They can tell if the student is not engaged, so they can call on them by even their mouse clicks and are they moving their mouse. It's super crazy. Yes.
I would have been like, what?
It's crazy, the technology that they're utilizing. Because again, these schools have been around for 2 decades. And so they've been able to flush out so many more systems. So one day he was doing Pythagorean theorem. He went to class, he did the lesson, and he bombed that day's lesson. The really cool thing is they'll have a whole lesson, then they have 5 or 10 questions for every single lesson in math, in science, in history, in art. And that kid and you as a parent and the teacher will know right away if they understood that day's lesson.
Wow.
Yes. So right away I knew. I came home. I was actually at the Capitol that day and came home, and he was like, hey mom, I did not get math. Look at my score. And I'm like, okay, dude, well, did you go to class? Yeah, I went to class. I thought I understood it, but I guess I didn't understand it. So we went back through. The really cool thing is that class live with the teacher was recorded. So he could go back and re-watch the teacher, pause her, and rewind her. How often do you wish you could have paused and rewound your teacher in school? Right? Like,
yeah.
You didn't want to raise your hand. Yeah. Right. And so he went back through it. He actually then went over to Khan Academy and did that. I got an email from the teacher saying, hey, did you notice Connor did not understand today's thing? Do you think he needs to go to tutoring? And she said, have him go back through, have him retake it. He went back through and got an A because he was able to slow it down, go at his own pace. And then the next day was a different thing, and he aced everything and was done with math in 30 minutes. So that's the really cool thing. If you need 3 hours to do math, you can take 3 hours. But if you only need 30 minutes and you understand the content and are getting, good grades, then move on.
I think the question would, and I think it's great how they communicate, but do they also provide helpful tools? Like you gave a good example, Khan Academy, right?
Yes.
Where your child went and used that as like another tool to help him understand the content, right? So
yes.
Does the online school also, give these tools or resources for parents?
Yes. So you do get your math textbook with the writing worksheets that you're having to, do your math problems on. As well, they have online lessons. So you have live with your teacher, and then they have online lessons that walk you through the lesson. It says, okay, go read this if it's history, right? Read this paragraph, and now watch this live video. Now read this paragraph. Now play this game. Now go to this website and look at this timeline. And it's all within the online school lesson. And then they have that test at the end, along with whatever you're having to write or click on throughout the lesson. So they've got videos and games and live things, as well as teachers have classroom time, right? Where you can pop in and say, I'm not understanding this content, as well as tutoring, and then they're live lessons as well. So many different ways to learn. I really wish I had that growing up. I'm a visual learner. Yeah. I'm not an auditory learner. If you just tell me something, I don't understand it. So those teachers that stood up and lectured to me, I had no idea what they were saying. Right. It did not compute for me.
That was the same way.
And so it's got you reading and watching a video and doing a game. And I'm like, oh man, well, now I know how to do that. That maybe I missed in 8th grade, right? or whatever.
Well, it sounds like they have a lot of support systems for not only the students but parents. You know, I feel like
Absolutely.
sometimes parents have to, what I call parent university, really understand, like, how do I help my kid when I myself don't understand the content. But do they
Right.
also go over, I think, you know, how they do, you know, these systems. Sometimes they have their own portal.
Right. Yes. Yeah, they have onboarding, which is what most of those schools call it, where it's training the parents or the learning coach. This is how you help with attendance. This is how you check emails, and everything that a teacher sends to a student, you have access to, which what I'm hearing is different than distance learning this last spring. There was lots of parents who were frustrated saying, I can't get in and help the student because I don't have access to this.
Right.
And as a learning coach, you have access to all those things, plus coaching, and you can ask the teachers, I don't understand this. There's parent support groups on Facebook. Those blow up, you know, especially at the beginning of the year. And understand, it's going to take a few weeks to understand this new packaging for everyone.
Right.
Right? Absolutely. It's a new type of learning, unless you've been learning online, which most everybody hasn't been, right? It's
Right.
less than 1% of the students in states that utilize this kind of education. Because again, it's not for everyone. And parents are getting really creative, right? If you have to work full time, but you've got a girlfriend or a sister who's also doing this, and she can work from home or doesn't work, and then you drop them off in the morning and they're at your sister's or your friend's house, and you in turn are making them dinner, or
that sounds like a learning,
you know, cleaning their bathroom, you know. So learning coaches are not just stay-at-home moms.
Right.
That's not the only thing. There's a gambit of what that looks like to be able to make this work for those students.
And I think it's, what were those helpful websites that we were talking about?
Yeah.
Which was School Choice Week, for your school option, no matter what state you're in. It tells you, you know, what options are available and the different types of school. The one that Shea was talking about is to find the public online school for Texas is txvsn.org. And we're going to show you how to go through it, because if any parent like me has gone through the Texas Education Agency, I'm going to say TEA. I try to stay away from abbreviations. When you go to their website, it's like an bottomless, you know, labyrinth. So we're going to show you how to do that really quick. And one thing that we were going to talk about here is there's a pandemic food relief for Texas families who have lost their free and reduced lunch. I know some parents are aware of this, and some parents are just now getting information about it, but their window to apply does end July 31st.
Yep. So if you're watching this on Thursday, that's tomorrow, y'all. But we wanted to make sure, even if that means one more family can hear about this, then hallelujah, we fed one more kid or three more kids. During this pandemic, not every school is offering, you know, the lunchtime program. Almost every city is, but not every city in the state. And so I believe what this is doing is giving you kind of a stipend, an amount of money in addition to possibly food stamps or other things that you may be on, WIC, whatever it is, for during this pandemic. And they've extended that. They already extended it through July 31st. It used to be earlier. They may extend it again, but right now it says it's tomorrow. So if you're in Texas and need that, go log in and Google pandemic EBT. The website itself is really, really long, and I didn't want to put that on here because it was way too confusing. So just Google pandemic EBT and you will find it. And there is a Spanish link to be able to do it in Spanish as well.
And you're also, if you have questions, you can go to mychildmyvoice.org, or you can email me at Wendy, Wendy at mpu.org. I just went blank. But all of this information, documents that we're talking about, helpful websites, will be on the mychildmyvoice.org website for you to find, or you're welcome to contact both of us, and we're happy to answer any questions, or even ask us questions in the comment field. As much as we can, we'll probably answer that. I am going to stop sharing so we can show you what that website looks like.
Now I know what I look like. This is scary. I'm in the corner of my office.
Let me go to the website. And this is going to be interesting because this is a labyrinth. This is the Texas Virtual School Network website that is ran by the Texas Education Agency. And Shay's going to walk me through it because I know when I first went on there, it was confusing.
It is very confusing. So this is the part of TEA that runs the virtual school stuff. There's a couple different things that they run, so it does get confusing. So you scroll down a little bit. There's a thing called course catalog and full-time online schools. We today have been talking about full-time online schools. The course catalog is something different. That is for high school students in ISDs that maybe they want to take additional classes. They don't have maybe the AP classes in their school, maybe out in the country in a little tiny town, right? They want to take Mandarin, and they don't offer Mandarin in their school. And so depending on the ISD, some ISDs partner with the Texas Virtual School Network and let their students take, you know, I believe it's up to 3 online courses a year, maybe per semester, outside of their brick and mortar traditional neighborhood school. So, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today we were talking about full-time online schools. And again, this is public because this is through TEA, paid for by y'all's taxes. Okay? So these are the online schools are in. Full-time online learning. So that's what you're going to click on next.
See what I mean about labyrinth? You got to click to where I need to get.
Sometimes.
There we go.
Here's where I got that information, y'all. Even though I already knew most of it, I wanted to make sure I had the most up-to-date. Now I'm going to assume Texas Virtual School Network is up to date on their own website as to what schools are offering. Okay. That's where you can find those schools. They do not have a link to the websites though. So, but you can see what the websites are and then click on them. Is it a link? Oh, I guess it is. It's
a link. So you can go to the name, like hover over the name, and it's a link. You can click on there. They just break it down a little bit more where it says elementary, middle school, high school. It tells you the person you can contact with their contact information. Actually, now they have enrollment information where they say, I'm looking at the Texas Online.
And this was 2 years ago. So this information, that information is way old. I can tell you we have more students than that.
Well, it says as of October 2018.
Right.
So it's who, I know TA is the one running this. So it's when they update this website is how much information is going to be put on here. But if you go to the actual school website, you can find the most updated information about the school.
Absolutely. And so it's the same thing in other states, right? Do I have this option in my state? And I would find that out through the National School Choice thing. I guess we could go there, Wendy, and click on that tab. Aha.
And so this is their version of in which, this is a great tool to have. You can go in the search field, type in, online school. It'll give you so much information. And I think one of the ones that was really great, and I'm going to see if I can pull it up here, is the school choice roadmap. And I know Andrew Campanella is probably going, oh my God, she's, shouting us out. Yes, this is a great tool to have, this book. It gives you information, walks you through steps on choosing a school, tells you about all that information. They put it in a book for us, as well as the website gives as much information if you're not able to get the book, but it will tell you like what we're talking about today, online school. If you see here, it tells you information, even has a video.
Yeah. This is very comprehensive. They have done an amazing job.
She's kind of freezing. Shea, you're kind of freezing a little.
As you're trying to figure out what am I gonna, I'm freezing. This I promise. Am I still freezing?
Now you're good.
All right. So this
but
is
what
I
was saying.
Emotion. Yeah. Go ahead.
What I was saying here is on the website, you can see how to switch online school resources in your state. That's the most important part. So that if you click on it, it's going to tell you information, shareable facts about online school, true stories, the biggest myths about online school, because I know a lot of us have been hearing, we get confused hearing a lot of these, different types of schools and is it this way? Is it that way? They actually trump those myths, give you the true information. I mean, it is a really good site to go to if you want some resources like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And not just for online school, for any type.
All types of schools.
All types of schooling. And as we're all trying to figure out what in the world we're going to do with our kids this fall and things are starting to come up, or as you get into it this year and it's not working for your kid, and as you're pondering in your heart and talking amongst your spouse, if you have a spouse, or with your mom or with your sister and with your kids, and finding out if it's working for them, do your research. We're trying to give tools. You as a parent can make the best choice for your child. The thing that works for your child, for your family circumstance. That's why Wendy and I wanted to do this show, was not just about education, which that's kind of the hot topic, which is why we're talking about it, but really giving you the tools as parents to make the decisions for your family, to fight for your kids and get them exactly what they need. So if you think online is what you need, fight for it.
Exactly. And, one thing I did when I was searching for another school option for my son is I had to not only talk to other parents that had kids in different types of schools other than the ones that my kids were in, but I also did my research. And then once I did my research, I asked a lot of questions. And as well as I did a list of schools that I felt like, my youngest, Josh, would be, that it would be more of a fit for him. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. And I wish this book was literally out when I was doing the search. Andrew Campanella actually goes through those steps here, like, for instance, School Choice 101, things to know before you search, make a list, research schools, visit schools, evaluate them, learn their learning environment. So like we mentioned, this is a great tool to have. And it is on their website, just basic information as well, if you're not able to get the book. But please do all that research, especially with online. And now you have it at your fingertips, whether you have, your phone or you have, a computer. We have those capabilities of doing it on our time now with this COVID, cooties is what I call it. And do that, do those researches. And two, what was great about National School Choice Week is if you have questions, you're now able to contact them directly as well in regards to that. And you will be contacted by the representative of your state, just to let you know and clarify that part. Because I know if people are watching from other states, are they going to give me accurate information in the current state I'm in? Yes, they will.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
that is a great way. But also you're welcome to contact us, meaning
Yep.
Shea.
Yep. So my email, especially with trying to figure out, not just in Texas, I'm on the national board for National Coalition for Public School Options. So I can help you in whatever state you're in. Mm-hmm. So I'm Shea at publicschooloptions.org. And, I'm one of those people who can help you out, especially with online and really choice in general. But seeing that, my kids have utilized online for over a decade, I kind of know my stuff about that.
Mm-hmm. She's awesome. And two, if you have questions in regards to the show that we're doing, or you would like to come on our show, you're welcome to reach me at wendy@npunion.org, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have in regards to this, as well as any other different questions. If there's a hot topic you want to talk about, we are happy to make that a show for you.
Yep.
Welcome to ask your questions in the comment field. Welcome to invite you on the show with your questions. Let us know what's going on, especially like if you're starting a new learning pod, or if you are trying to figure out what school, or even if you're trying to figure out distance learning.
Right, which, Wendy, correct me if I'm wrong, is that what we're talking about on Monday?
Yes, we are. That was a pun.
So we are talking about how in the world am I going to do this distance learning thing? I'm going to keep my kid in the school, and maybe I'm only going to distance learn for the couple weeks that everybody has to, and then I'm going to put my kid in person, or I'm using that option through the school for the whole year. We're going to help you know, do I need to set up an entire classroom?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to buy? What do I need to get? How do I get through the day? How do I work and do this? So we're going to try our best to come up with different tools for your tool belt for distance learning.
Right. And so, like I mentioned, if you have questions like, hey, especially if you're in Texas, doesn't matter what part of Texas, reach out to us. Come on the show with us. Ask us those questions, because I know this is all new to everyone, especially when, the schools are delaying their reopening of schools. But at the same time, we were thrown into this as parents. We had to pick up fast on what the schools, as well as the schools, were trying to figure out, how do I distance learn? How do I do this, learning system, this portal that my child's school is using? I got to figure this out. And, or what are other resources that I can utilize to help my kid while they're distance learning? And this is what we're going to talk about to help as much as we can.
Yep. So we hope you join us.
And so I thank National Parents Union for allowing us to host the show. And as I mentioned, documents that we mentioned about buzzwords and the online school information is posted on mychildmyvoice.org. And if you have questions in regards to National Parent Union, please reach out to info@npunion.org, and we're happy to answer those questions as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining our show, and we hope to see you on Monday to talk about distance learning.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for watching.